Hey everybody, for this chapter 15, the bureaucracy, we're going to flip the classroom kind of. I'm going to send out the PowerPoint the next couple of nights in 10-minute increments or so, and you can watch it at your leisure. And you can also find the PowerPoint on eClass, and you can also find the notes broken down on eClass in a Word document, I believe. So, but we'll do this, and then we'll practice stuff in class Monday through Wednesday before we take our quiz on Thursday. Okay. So let's get going with the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is the fourth branch. Most people consider it the fourth branch, even though we have the three. There's so much moving parts to the bureaucracy that they are the fourth branch. And the bureaucracy is just set up to help the president carry out the laws. All right. We've said several times that the president's not going to show up to your door to give you a ticket or something like that. It'd be a bureaucratic agency. If you don't pay your taxes, the IRS is going to show up, not the president. So that's all the bureaucracy is for the most part. There's some other parts to it, but that's the big thing they do. All right. So implement the policies for the branches. That is their main functions. What we just said, they're going to be the ones that enforce all the laws that Congress creates and the president signs. The bureaucracy is in charge of implementing this. Okay, because like the Federalist Papers said, if men were angels, there'd be no need for government. And just because Congress passes a law doesn't mean that we're going to follow it. So they have to be implemented, and they're the ones that are going to be on the ground floor. Actually enforcing and carrying out the policies. Not congressmen, not the president, not the judges, but these guys. They're supposed to be nonpartisan to ensure laws are administered without prejudice. What does nonpartisan mean? Well, they're not supposed to be for the Republicans or for the Democrats. And we'll see a little bit later there's something called the Hatch Act that's supposed to keep them from being that way. But obviously they have their own personal beliefs and they are loyal to certain people in certain parties, and sometimes they may bleed into their administration. Okay, Congress creates all these. I know we've said the president in Washington created those first couple cabinets, and he did for the most part. But from here on, Congress does that. Okay, and Congress had to actually officially create those positions when Washington said he wanted it, and the advice from those guys. So all the stuff that we're going to look at, Congress has to come up with. All right. Bureaucrats are appointed and by the president and then selected, or confirmed by the Senate. We don't elect them. Okay. And it's the same reason we don't want our judges to have to be elected. We don't want them worrying about, well, hey, if I carry out this policy this way, is it going to upset this set of voters? So we don't want our bureaucratic agents to be worried about running for election all the time. Okay. The main point of today is that there are four types of government agencies that we're going to go through. Alrighty. First up is the cabinet. This is those 15 positions that are out there that help the president, and they are going to oversee all the different agencies. Okay. Most of the agencies we look at will fall under some kind of cabinet position, and I'll show you some examples in just a moment. But you see there at the top, they manage a permanent national interest to promote some particular function. Okay, they are appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. I think we know this, and they have a huge breakdown. Okay, and we looked at the hierarchical structure of the president's office the other day. These guys would be one of those lines of defense for the president. If you as a regular old agent have a problem, you're not going to go directly to the president. You're going to go to your director, who will eventually get to the secretary of state, secretary of defense, whatever it might be. Okay. Some examples here: the Bureau of Land Management, FBI, IRS, Immigration Naturalization Services. You see where they fit under these cabinets. So there's the agencies, and we kind of have an idea of what those do. The land management people are obviously going to look out for the land, the national parks, and things like that, and they fit under the Interior. The FBI carries out laws. They're the Justice Department. Sorry if it blips or skips. I'm trying to record when my kids are around, so I apologize. Okay, so that's the cabinets. Okay, and these are the ones we're probably most familiar with. Now, the next up is the independent regulatory agencies, and the independent regulatory agencies are usually created by some kind of act of Congress. So Congress creates these, and they are going to oversee something. All right, some kind of industry or try to enforce some sort of regulations. While they're a regulatory agency, you see the bullet B there. They investigate, advise, or report. Okay, they are not a part of the cabinet, but they sometimes will meet with the cabinet meetings when the president and all 15 positions are coming together. There'll be some of these that are there to meet at the same time. Okay. They are supposed to be kind of separate from politics, and they can be appointed by the president, but then they're kind of left alone. Okay, and you see the example there's the Federal Reserve. That president is going to serve for a long time. He's going to make it through a couple presidents' terms, so he's not going to have to worry about the president coming in and firing him and things like that. So it's sorry, I had to pause again. The main thing to understand about the independent regulatory agencies is that they are meant to enforce and impose regulations free of political influence, whereas the cabinet positions are going to be definitely, hey, I'm the president's guy. Okay, the independent regulatory agencies are created kind of separate from all that, and these guys are not supposed to have some of the same political pressures that other positions might have. Okay, now the other big part, and this is something to kind of understand here, is these have legislative and judicial powers. All right, my kids are distracting me. I'm sorry. Congress writes a law and they send it to the agencies, and they then get to decide how we're going to enforce it. And so that's legislative. We said that the president lost the line item veto because that was too much of a legislative power. Well, the bureaucratic agency has it, though, because they look at it and they can decide how they're going to enforce it, what they're going to do. The examples you see there are the FDA and the EPA. So you get an environmental law, and the EPA gets to decide how they're going to enforce it. What are we going to do? Are we going to go hard after all these people? Are we going to be lenient on this? They get to make all those sorts of decisions. And then judicial, they get to decide how they're going to punish people. It's not Congress that sets that up. It's the agencies that get to decide how we're going to punish violators. So this is why they have the kind of legislative skills, because they get to read and interpret the congressional orders and laws and decide how they're going to enforce it. And then they also get to make decisions about how they're going to punish people. Thirdly, is the government corporations, and this is probably the easiest one to understand because there's some of them that we know. Okay, they are a service that probably could be handled by the private sector, but the government is in there. They're supposed to make money and kind of fund themselves, even though we know like the Post Service does not, and they're always in financial trouble. And talking about doing away with certain things like Saturday services and things like that. But because of that, they're supposed to have a little more freedom. Okay, and you see some examples here. The FDIC, if you ever go to your bank, you'll see that sticker. That was created way back in the Great Depression. TVA. The damn people, they provide damn jobs and damn electricity, postal service, and damn track. Lastly is the independent executive agencies, and these are not part of the cabinets, and they are a specialized service. Okay, while they report directly to the president, they are free to kind of do what they want to. Okay, now the president can get rid of these people if he would like to, and you see some of the examples there: NASA and CIA. Okay, NASA does the space thing, but they're not going to regulate it. They want to keep people out of space. That's kind of their goal. There's no space travel and things like that. And it's because NASA doesn't really want us to, but they don't have any kind of enforcement powers. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do on Monday in class is we're going to be given a whole bunch of the agencies, and you're going to go through and sort them out into either independent executive agencies, government corporations, independent regulatory commissions, and cabinet positions. All right. I hope you all have had a great weekend, and be sure you get your presidency vocab turned in. Thanks.